she came and she spoiled me. I guess that's why I thought she was the best. You know, she did her job as a grandma. Um, at night, she'd tell us ghost stories. Oh my gosh, those were so spooky for a little kid. And somebody ate out your heart, and you'd be screaming, you know, and then she'd go, "Is that my heart you have?" You know, and you'd be like, "Oh!" And she played the role. I mean, dim the lights, you know. Grandma's gonna tell you a spooky story, and you'd love it and you'd hate it all at the same time because you were so scared. And then during the day, she used to always walk with me up to Dang's store, and the little money she had, she would spend on me, and I could buy cracked seed and candy and anything I want. And I love when we played cards because we were on the mat and she would hug me real close and stick those cards under my leg. And I was like, at first, like, whoa, what is this? And then when she needed it, she took it back and she played it and she won. I said, my grandma just cheated. She won, but she just cheated, you know? So, yeah, she was the best. And then I just remember so vividly when my father tried to manage her diet because she had a sweet tooth and she was a diabetic, and we were out there in the bushes and she threw candy away. She threw it. She flinged it because he was going to catch us eating candy, you know. And I thought that was the neatest thing. Like, yeah, she got one over on you, Daddy. It was always the Ubaki stories. Yep, you got my liver. Who's got my liver? My father killed pig maybe 2, 3 times a month, and I was there to help him, and everybody knew that I was the one who catched the blood. So we'd go in the house and we'd get a pot, and then we get a banana. You strip a banana leaf and you got a stalk. So you get that stalk and you stir the vinegar and salt. You stir it and stir it and stir it until that vinegar and salt becomes one. And then they clean off the neck portion of the pig and they stab it to kill the pig. Well, when you stab it, if you stab it in the right place, this blood will shoot out. And so what you have to do is stir and stir and stir, and you can't stop stirring because if you do, then the blood will chunk up. And you didn't want that. So if you continue to, so after the pig was completely bled, I'm still stirring the blood until it's really gotten to the vinegar and the blood become one. That's all I can describe it. And then it could sit and wait until you got all the guts out, clean the guts, and you'd make a meal out of that. The intestines and the blood. They call it dinuguan in Filipino, and it's a whole meal. It looks like chili. I used to tell the Holly boys that used to come on the Marines, oh, that's the Hawaiian chili. Every weekend, like start from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there was a big to do at our house because they started making their lures. You know, they have to make their lures. They have to check lines. So they were always at our house, and we brought in a lot of fish every weekend. So they'd go out fishing. If it was Opelo season, then he'd go by himself sometimes, and he'd swear that there was somebody fishing with him because he didn't catch all the fish. And there was like loads of fish. So when he came home, it was our job to undo the boat, take all the fish and wash down the boat. You have to wash everything because it was salt water and it would just eat up. So all the poles had to be flooded with water. All the boat has to be flooded with water. And then his friends just stayed and, we cook up food, make rice. My mother fried the fish, and she had learned to fry the fish so well. Everybody thought her fish was the best. She did the fish. My father cleaned the fish, I cleaned the fish, but she wouldn't clean fish, but she would cook all the fish. She was the best cooker of fish. I just had a real love for the Eucharist. I love the candles that you lit, you know, and it signified, like in the old days, they burned incense, that your prayers rose up to Jesus. So, yeah, I liked lighting the candles in the old church, and it's a different, the modern day and the old day. When you go into a church with real candles, it's, to me, it made a difference. I loved going to church. I loved every part of it. I loved the teachings.
And you told
The
you
old church, you could actually walk up and be on a choir level and look down, on the whole altar. That was like fascinating for me, just fascinating. I don't know why. I just had this big love for the mass, the service that we attend. Yeah, in the old days, it was a great respect for the church. I love to pray. I love to pray. I love prayer and worship and meditation, and I still do it. I still do it. I try to get up real early in the morning because that's when I'm wide awake before everybody gets up, and I say my prayers, and the day is solid. On solid ground. I believe that. For all those mothers who are feeling the anguish that I have had to go through, there's many mothers out there that are the same if not worse. So I pray for them. So those are all intercessory prayers. Yeah, I do a lot of those. And then when I'm in church, it's prayer and adoration. Yeah. And I guess we had finished cleaning the church. That's what we came on a Saturday to clean the church. That was what we were supposed to do. And then he found us outside just talking and playing and goofing off. And he said, "Hey, if you're done with the church, you come in here and you clean my house." And we were like, "What?" So we went in and we cleaned the house. And he said, "Don't forget to make the bed." And we went in. I was like, "Wow, he actually sleeps in a bed." I don't know what I was thinking. I thought he arose to heaven every night. I don't know. But it really impressed me that he's got a bed. The priest actually got a bed. Whenever he saw us goofing off again, we had to clean the house. So dust everything, and wow, they sit on chairs, they watch TV. Yeah. They got the same kind of furniture we have, and it's a twin size bed. What did I expect? I don't know. But it wasn't a bed. We always had a fresh tree, except for one year when we were really, really poor. We had a Kiavi branch. But I would love to lie under the tree and just look up at all the lights. And we would just sleep under the tree, you know. Sometimes, not often. I was a good girl, but sometimes those little packages just came unopened enough to say, "Whoa, I'm getting Monopoly." To me, it was perfect. I teach my grandchildren, lie down under the tree, look at it. It's so pretty, and they do. For me, that was a little heaven on earth, just to look up and see all the lights. And remember those lights that had all the bubbles? They were skinny and they had all the bubbles going up and down. Those are fun to look at, you know. Well, my mother actually gave me two dolls that she paid a pretty penny for. She knew I liked church, and I was always interested in nuns. So she gave me this nun doll. I guess they had to really save up for it. And I was like, oh, I got this nun doll. I have to see if she has hair. Does she wear? So I ripped it apart to find out that she was bald. They didn't have hair. My mother was so upset. Then I had another doll she bought for me. It was a wedding doll. And I think she bought that with stamps. Do you remember stamps when you go to the grocery store? And I think she bought it that way. And she had to use quite a few stamps. And she also bought a hair cutting tool, those razors, because my brothers had to have haircuts and they couldn't afford to go. And I wanted to play with that so much. So I got this wedding doll, took off her veil, and just shaved her head and hid her underneath the bed. Oh my God. A Saturday morning, my mother would pound bread. So we had to learn how to pound bread. And really, it's an art, and it's not easy. She would do a lot of bread. She had to give every single person, wouldn't just do it for us. So she would pound and pound and pound. Then once it's pounded, she put it in. She put it in. It's in a bowl, and she would grease the bowl, and she would grease the top of that, and she'd put all of these dish towels. First, she put wax paper, then dish towel, dish towel, dish towel, and then this big blanket, and she'd put it on a counter, and that began the bread because you couldn't walk, you couldn't run. I think yelling even was not allowed because the bread was rising. So no activity, the bread is rising. So you run in the front door and man, you're right there, you're caught. No, the bread's rising. So once the bread after hours, it seemed, the bread would rise. Then you'd make the sign of the cross. You always have to bless your bread. And then you'd punch it down. And then you'd make your little, how do you call it? You get your little piece of dough and she'd put a raw egg in the piece of dough. And then she'd put it all in a bread pan. So you'd have all these little buns like dinner rolls. But it hasn't ended there because it had to rise again. So there was still no playing, no horsing around, because now the breads were in the pan and they were rising. So you're coming into early evening having this rise, and then about 9 o'clock she would start baking her bread with the eggs in it. The eggs are not boiled. It's raw eggs. You may have to make sure they were really clean because we're getting it from the farm. So you have to wash each egg and make sure there's no cracks in it. And then you just put the raw egg, with the dough over it. And when it baked, it came out boiled. Sort of. It was baked. It was cooked. So you had your egg and you had your bread. At midnight, we were at Mass. So we all marched into Mass. And when we came back from Mass, we could eat bread, hot rolls straight from the oven with the egg in it. You get up the next morning, you still got the Portuguese bread with the eggs in it. It was like, that was Easter. And the Easter, and you ate that pork that they had pickled on Thursday. My father would roast it in the oven and turn it over and turn it over. So you had your meat and you had your bread. That was the Portuguese portion of our upbringing. My dad ate it with rice because he had to have rice, and my mother couldn't see it. I don't know why you're eating it with rice. You have the bread, but two different cultures. My dad did the vineyard oils for her, and she did the bread, and we were so fortunate, looking back, that we had two different cultures right in our own home. I love track. I love the girls that I was with. I turned most of them into Catholics now. But no matter where we went, can we stop for communion before we go? So, we did that, and they were a good team. Miss Lee was, Holly from Oregon, and try to learn the ways. And I guess the best ways is to get with teenagers. So she would take us on outings that our parents probably would not have allowed. Pray for six. Let's go to Praying for Six. She was young, so why not take the kids out there? She knows nothing about the beaches, and that undertow there is so bad. They thought it was a race, but in my mind, and even till today, I believe it's not race. It's culture, because in the mainland, it's when you're given something. If your mother gives you a book, a pencil, a paper, that's yours. That is you own that. In Hawaii, if I had paper and my friend didn't have paper, it was my job to give them paper or give them pencil. So that's how we were basically raised. Yeah, I give you, you give me. None of us had parents who were really rich. So we depended on each other for school supplies. Hey, I don't want paper today, Well, you've got these military mainland students, and they come into our school, and they've got every supply that they need. They've got the pencils, they got the pens, they've got a whole ream of folder paper, and you say, hey, can I borrow a pencil and pen? And they're like, no, that's mine. You should bring your own. What you mean, brah? Can you lend me one pencil? You know what I mean? It's like, that's how the argument starts. Wow, that Holly guy, he can't even, he gets plenty of paper, and he don't like even loan me paper. Why? I didn't understand. I was crying once, and Father said, you're just going through social shock. And I was like, I don't understand that. I was busy with my granddaughters, and Odie saw the tree was up, the lights were on, and she was just like, you told me I could help you. I said, Odie, I'm not done. She goes, but you told me I could help. I said, okay, Odie, go in the garage. On the table, there's a whole bunch of ornaments, Odie. Get the ornaments, and you can put it on the tree. I'm not done yet. And so I continued to attend to my granddaughter, change her clothes, change her diaper, whatever it was I was doing. And when I looked up on the tree, there were boxes
of ornaments on my tree. I had forgotten, totally forgotten to tell her, take out each one and hang each ornament on the tree. I just said, get the ornaments and put it on the tree. You can get upset. You can get upset. All I did was roll laughing, just roll laughing. It was just like, okay, Odie, come on. Here's what you do. You know, nothing to cry about. Just rework it. My brother's children were taking Taekwondo. And the Taekwondo, the sensei was a registered nurse who was part of the trauma team at Wynette Comp. So I knew B, and B knew of our situation with Odie. And so we put Odie in Taekwondo, and that worked really good because it was therapy without being therapy. And she wanted to do it. That's the best thing, is Odie wanted to do it. But Odie did not understand that this was Taekwondo, you practiced and you didn't hit anybody. So she'd come home, and if somebody frustrated her, man, she went into her kick. And I said, oops, that's it. Odie, you can't just grab things from people, because she was doing that at home. And you know, it's her aunties, her uncles, her cousins, and everybody's saying, oh, that's okay. And I said, no, you can't do that. So now we've got her walking, and she goes up to a total stranger, because I'm allowing her to walk by herself, and she says, can I have your ice cream? I said, Odie, you know, I'm right there a couple of steps behind. You can't do that. And she goes, you told me to ask. Because I sat there and I watched her put on her clothes. I could have done it in 2 minutes, but I made her put her pants on. I made her change her shirt. And I was the mean mom. I don't know why you're doing that to her. Why don't you just change her clothes? And I kept saying over and over, because I won't always be here. And I want her to learn. I want her to be independent, you know. And look at Odie today, very independent, you know. And I think it's because I made her put on her own shirt. I owe it all to that. The single mom, I don't know how they do it. I can see myself going through it and doing it, but it's tremendous burden, tremendous burden. You know, just the fact of picking up that wheelchair and putting it in the car, fine, no problem. First day, second day, third day, but you know, day after day, and then you have to really think out, do I really need that loaf of bread tonight? You know, you can't just jump in a car and go back to Walmart or go back to Tamura's and get that loaf of bread, because you have to think, well, I got to get her in the car, which means I got to put the wheelchair in. We got to hope we have a handicapped spot. If not, we have to park where there's no cars, which means that's far away, because you take out the wheelchair, you still have to get the person out of the car. There'll be no room in a regular stall. So all of those things you have to take into consideration when you're a parent of a child with severe disabilities, you know. Yeah, just laugh about it. When she dropped the jar of pickles all over the floor and glass went everywhere, I said, Odie, wait. Stay right there. Okay, now you're going to come back back, and come around the counter and sit here and talk to my daughter because I was on the phone with my daughter. I said, "You did a good job, Odie. You did a good job." And so Odie's telling her sister, "I don't know what I did. I did a good job," she says. And then I had to explain to her, I said, "Odie, I am not mad at you because you tried. And for that, I'm so proud of you because you tried, you know." She was trying to be independent and she dropped the whole bottle of pickles. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to clean it up. That's what I'm going to do. Make sure that nobody gets cut. I saw that the schools didn't make it easy. The schools did not make the process easy in 1992. They were still fighting the fact that they had to do any of that. In my mind, it was a power thing. We don't have to do it until they, Judge Ezra said, "You know what? You have to do it. It's federal law. You have to do it." And a lot of parents and children suffered from it. And then I made sure that Odie wouldn't suffer for it. I loved Marty. Me and Marty came, from the first day I met him. Yeah, yeah. I came to love Marty. Marty would laugh at me, in meetings because I think he saw my game, and he didn't interrupt it. Me and Marty became good friends because it was because he knew I was right, you know, and he knew that his staff. I mean, there were so many mistakes in the beginning. First of all, they wouldn't service her because of 94-142. That we were home in May, and you go to June 10th. There were so many weeks that she could have gotten educated in the school, but they were telling me 94-142. Then when I got him into the IEP, the first IEP, nobody knew, and they were referring me to district. "Oh, we don't know. We got to talk to district. Oh, we don't know. We got to talk to district." And I said, "And this, and this, and this. I don't know." And so I said, "You know what? I want a hearing. I heard you can do that." So the next morning I was in Marty's office and I said, "Hey, Marty, I'm Angela Zankary and I would like to have a hearing because nobody can service my child." And that's when more boo-boos began to be played out. Marty said, please give me a week." So we had a week, and I had 10,000 people coming in and out, therapists and speech therapy and you name it. Then he sends me to a school away from Miley, further into Waianae to Lehoku, and the principal is supposed to have been informed, and I had this meeting with her, and we talked for over an hour, and then Odie needs to go use the bathroom, and Nani pushes her in. "Mom, she has to go to the bathroom." And go, "Oh, no, you have a wheelchair. No, we can't have you at this school." Well, she's not supposed to tell me that. She should have said, "Well, I think we need to talk to Marty." She can't just tell me, the parent. So then he has to convince me to go to Kamaili, which is further away from my house, because they're the only ones who have elevators, So in the beginning, him and I had such a rough start, I'm going, "What is this? I spent an hour, I take off of work, and you can't even accept her because she's in a wheelchair? Come on, Marty." He goes, wait, let me go see what's going on. He saw how hard a start I had, and they really had to convince me that inclusion was a good thing because I wanted her to have that individual care. She was pretty fragile at the time that she went into, she was still drooling and stuff. So
Well, I did kind of play because I said, I don't know what this meeting is for. And the principal stepped up and said, hey, you called it. I said, But Marty Madison from the district was there. And I said, Marty, did you guys change the rules? You know, if a team decides something, isn't it carried out? Why are we here? Because the team convinced me that she should ride the bus. What happened to that IEP? I don't know. So I played it. But the one thing I did stand up for was when the VP said, I'll go get your girls. And I said, no, you're not going to interrupt their education. She's going to wait and give them on priority. You know, and you get so involved in it when you're walking in and you're walking in late and your friends are saying, whoa, she could whip your ass. Oh, sorry. But she's gonna whip you. She said it out here, you know? And I'm going like, how foolish. I was born and raised here. Everybody here is my Calabash cousins and, you know. We couldn't afford to just go to therapy for therapy's sake. And if Kaiser was correct, I would just let it alone. But could you just evaluate her and give me your opinion? And he said he didn't have the experience, but he was willing to give it a try. And he stumbled onto the POGs. Now, there's another side to it. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it became a community project because people would continue bringing in from the community POGs, and then she wanted to ride the bike, and so he wanted her to be on a balance beam, but there was no balance beam in his therapy office. And so the maintenance guys came in and said, so I can build that for you, Herb. What do you need? And so he gave them the measurements and stuff. And so the maintenance guys built Odie the beam to walk on so she could get on a bike. So it became, everybody was excited about Odie in the community. So, yeah, it became a community. And Herb was so insistent on what she had to do. And she did it all to earn the POGs. And he was flexible where others, I don't know if they are or were at the time, but Odie wanted to jump for HARP. You know that program that they take into schools? And she couldn't jump at school because it would have been too dangerous. So he took it on. We brought her in to his office, and she jumped for HARP in a safe environment, and then we took the paper back to the school, and they accepted it. So, yeah, you know, some therapists would have been, hey, you got your hour. This is what we're doing. After that hour, you're out of here, you know. But Herb made exceptions for Odie, many exceptions. Yeah. And then if she wanted to get on the bike, because they have that standstill bike, if you want to get on the bike, then you have to do the table. You have to do this, and you have to do that. And you get 3 POGs for this and 3 POGs. And after he got the hard stuff out of the way, he gave her what she wanted. You know, I really got my daughter Kanani involved in hula. As much as we told her we loved her, I could see her falling deeper and deeper into it was like a depression, because all our focus was on Odie. No matter where we went, it was always Odie. And Odie needed the attention. It's not like we were just giving her the attention for attention's sake. I mean, we'd go outside, and she'd try to get to sit on a picnic table and she's so wobbly. We have to go Odie and catch her. It was things that are really crucial to her getting well. Um, we'd pay lots of attention. I wouldn't just say go crush the can. I'd say crush the can with your left hand. No, no, no. And so, it's always Odie. And so Nani was feeling left out, just completely left out. And so that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to give up all my Thursdays. You stay home with Odie. I told Top, you stay home with Odie, and Thursdays will be my day with Nani. And so we went to dinner, and I put her in hula. And I think hula helped her to blossom, just come out of her shell, And I really was serious about this being me and Nani. So I sat there. I did not just drop her off. A lot of parents just drop the kids off and go run an errand. But I made an effort to just sit there and watch Nani. And then I'd praise her. Wow, that was cool. Man, that was good. So it was my effort to build her self-esteem and show her how much she means to me too. And then, when we'd go home, I'd say, show top, what you did, you learned a step. And then as she learned songs, play that song, And that was my time with Nani, and it brought her out of the shell. So it had been like maybe a year and a half that me and Nani was already in hula. And I said, hey, let's go do the hula with Nani. And so again, my main focus is not actually Odie learning the hula, but Odie getting PT out of it, physical therapy. And Nani didn't mind it because she had already established herself within the group. So they learned their culture. This teacher was really good. They learned to make their own hakus, learned to make their own dancing instruments, so they learned a whole lot from hula. Hula wasn't just hula. And for every dance that they danced, they needed to know the story behind the dance. And I love that. I just love that about it. So even if it was a whole Hawaiian chant or song that they were dancing to, she would tell them the full meaning of what they were dancing. And I think both girls really benefited from that. I think that's one of the reasons Odie in high school took Hawaiiana. So she wanted to speak Hawaiian, not just and she created a page. I'm not sure if you helped her. Somebody helped her create a web page, and it was all in Hawaiian. And I said, what does it say, Odie? She said, learn to speak Hawaiian, then you'll know. So I never found. Nani still dances the hula for us. And every time she dances, Top cries, and I cry, Because it's not just a little girl dancing the hula. It brought her out of the shell,
The late 70s, the Air Force had computers, and they needed volunteers to learn about computers. And I was just a lowly secretary, and I was like, I'll learn. And I went through the classes. I learned all about computers, and the other secretaries, they're like, I don't know why you're learning that. You'll never get away from those typewriters. The typewriters are what they need, And then when I went, the same thing happened when I went up to Camp Smith. we get messages come in every day, and we had a GS13 pulling all the messages. And I said, you know, if you teach me a few things, I'll pull the message. You will? I said, yeah, why not? It wasn't in my job description. And I said, you know what? I can do it just as well as you do it. You have something better to do. Let me do it. And I did it. And everybody wanted to know, why are you being promoted over the other secretaries? You know, well, there you go. Volunteer for things you don't have to do. You go into a home in Hawaii, and my mother would just punish us if we said, yes, please. Yes, please was not in the books, not to say. But you don't worry about it in Hawaii, because even if you say no thank you, they're going to give all the food and the drink right in front of you, even if you say no thank you. Now, you come to the mainland and you say no thank you, you're going to be thirsty. And you're going to be hungry. You're going to wish you took that sandwich. And a definite break in culture. The culture is different. In Hawaii, there is a very big unspoken, because we're taught to be humble. So you wouldn't go into an interview and say, oh, I'm Angela Zangerly, and I have been this, you know, you don't. And whereas I've seen in interviews, and this howdy guy comes in, he goes, oh, I can do this, and I can do that, and I will do this, and I will do that, and I'm going like, wait a minute, I work with you, you don't do any of that, you know? And then the timid, and I have to remind the panel that I'm with, that understand, you're interviewing a Japanese girl. She is not going to tell you any of that. We're not allowed to do that. But look at her record. Look at her record, and look at all the awards that she's been given. You know, kind of like, hello, we have different cultures. And I want to help other parents see that, you know, they have to listen to their gut. If they think their kids can be better than what they are, they need to do that, no matter what the medical field is saying. A parent knows their child best. And I saw in Odie that she had the capability of getting better. It wasn't, this is as good as it's going to get. So I pushed the system, and sometimes it's good to push the system. I think everyone who interacted with Odie and with me have become better teachers for it. It was all built around my father's cooking capabilities, and he did a lot of luau's, and it taught me how everybody joined together to make it happen. It's not just one person. And the luau, the process of the luau is an important process, you know. It is a process. It's just not identified correctly in the normal English-speaking world, you know. A luau is a party, but there's so much that goes into the party. So much that goes into the party. It's not just, it just happens. You know, you have to know people. You have to work with them all year, and they call it a barbecue. You know, and you just change that barbecue to a meeting. It's what it is. You know, somebody's writing down who's going to do what. So that's minutes of the meeting. You know, it's just not called that. But because I work where I work, I kind of figured it all out. I'm going like, hey, this is unique. And I did it almost every weekend of my life when I was growing up.
because my dad was involved in luau's. So I helped prepare just like he did. And then we went into the lay business, and it was, again, team effort, you know. So normal luau's were 500, 600. That was normal. But the biggest one I remember was 1,000. And with that type of feeding, and it all comes together, Jim. It all comes together because everybody knows what the end product needs to be. In my heart, it's really humbling to say, Jim, thank you so much. Because this is the one of the best gifts I can give my children. Actually, you know, I'm a scrapbooker, right? You know that. And one Christmas, my sister said, "What do you want to do? Make everybody cry? This is Christmas." But I made an album and a box to keep it in it. I decorated the whole box and painted it, and in it was an album, and it took them right through their childhood. And I wrote at every stage what my thoughts were about them and what they were doing. Yeah, my sister said, "You're so low. Everybody gonna cry at Christmas." I said, "Oh well, I'm low." But I want that heritage to be passed on, you know. I want that. I want them to know how I felt about them. So everybody got one, and I got 6 darn kids, so that's a lot of work. My real hope is that at least one family will benefit from the story.
Me too.
At least one, because if I've touched one life, and I think that's what I said when I was advocating. I said if I can touch one life, and I did, and that's the same with you. You've touched so many lives, Jim. So many lives, and it's all for the good of mankind. Well, Tutu is grandmother in Hawaiian, and it's actually Tutu Wahine and Tutu Kani. So you have the male and female. But my mother said, "No, I'm Tutu Lady," and so I just kept the Tutu Lady. Yeah, yeah. So and all the kids call me Tutu. Um, no matter where they're at, they call me Tutu. Yeah, I'm Tutu Lady.